Common misconception is that legal agreements only exist where there's a formal written contract signed by the parties on paper. In reality, that's just not the case. In Canada, a legally binding contract does not necessarily need to be a formal document. In many situations, a contract can be formed through simple written communications, including text messages, or even verbally. The key legal question is not the format of the communication, but whether the essential elements of a contract are present. Generally, that includes an offer, acceptance, consideration, and an intention to create legal relations. If those elements can be established through a series of text messages, court may treat that exchange as a binding agreement. This is where many people underestimate their exposure. Informal messages such as I agree, deal, send it over, I can pay, in the right context can be interpreted as acceptance of contractual terms. Even short message exchanges can be used as evidence to establish what the parties agreed to. For example, you might have heard about that famous case about a year ago where the courts held that an emoji, a thumbs up emoji, was sufficient to conclude that the parties had a contract. Now, it's important to know that in that case, the parties had an established relationship with repeated orders, and so the thumbs up made sense for them. It's also important to understand that courts look at the substance of the communication, not the platform. A text message carries the same evidentiary weight as an email or written correspondence if it clearly demonstrates agreement between the parties. Screenshots of messages are routinely used in legal proceedings to prove the existence of terms and of agreement. Disputes often arise when one party believes discussions were informal or preliminary, while the other party treats the same exchange as a finalized deal. In those situations, the wording of the messages becomes critical. Courts will assess whether a reasonable person would interpret the exchange as a concluded agreement. Another important factor is intent. If the communication shows that both parties intended to be bound and there were no remaining material terms left unresolved or that needed to be negotiated, the likelihood of enforceability increases significantly. The key takeaway is this: legal obligations are not limited to formal contracts. In many cases, a series of text messages can create binding commitments with real financial consequences. To learn more, visit legalline.ca, Canada's free public resource. We provide free legal information in 107 languages and answer 35,000 questions every day. legalline.ca